Heyo, it's GSPA Pro, aka Phil, and today I felt like drawing something My Little Pony, aka I was feeling really nostalgic again. Another comparison between Sonas, but this time it's pony Sonas. Basically, I'll be drawing my current Sona palette pens next to my first ever original character, Princess Peepee. Since I'm redrawing such an old character, I thought I'd also make this video about my attachment to characters and retiring them. So, let's get into that before I run out of speed paint. I think that ever since I started doing art more frequently, I felt unsure about getting rid of characters. When I was a kid, I'd retire characters I was bored or embarrassed of left and right, but I began to regret it. My first ever OCs were unsurprisingly the first to be retired by my young self. Princess Peepee and Peepee the Hedgehog were said victims to my retirement rampage. I actually remember having drawn one more picture of my Sonic OC and having my classmates sign it as a way of finally getting rid of her. I hated her. I hated how cringe she was according to those people I watched. I hated how she attached me to that hellhole that the Sonic fandom was at the time. So I basically killed her off like the comedic relief character in a horror movie. My pony Sona had a similar reason. I still adored My Little Pony, don't get me wrong, but again, she was the epitome of Mary Sue, according to all of those YouTubers and DeviantArt blogs. So again, she was ripped out of everything I created. Occasionally, I'd draw her beside my OC Apple Essence, who was later revamped into Lady Autumn Essence, but for the most part, she was gone. This is actually one of the reasons I despise the creators who influenced my past, especially those fellow artists who continuously drilled the most ridiculous rules into my poor skull.
Don't make them too colorful, it's too busy. Why are you making them so rare and powerful? You have no place in the canon narrative, make them normal. Give them flaws. If they have no flaws, it's not realistic. Nobody is friends with everybody. Make them somewhat unlikable. They're too attractive and fitting to the beauty standards. Give them something to make fun of, at least.
I listened to that. I watched all those videos of those popular artists shitting on young artists, critiquing their art styles and characters without even asking, begging their fans to make characters how they like, and simply forcing everyone into one box. I believed them. I believed that if I wanted to become popular and I wanted to have good art, I had to fit their standards and meet their expectations. But they're wrong. You can do whatever the fuck you want with your art. It doesn't matter what you make, it's yours. Be wild, be creative, be Mary Sue, Gary Stu, or whatever. And I wish I knew that sooner. Thankfully, I've learned the real do's and don'ts of character design and writing, things from professionals, not just overly judgmental 24-year-olds who get their YouTube revenue by bullying 12-year-olds on DeviantArt. A certain someone I've had one-sided beef with in the past. And even if I have redesigned some of my characters, they still have those Mary Sue-like traits and abilities. For example, Autumn Essence is still an alicorn bat pony, and Mary is still part of a nearly extinct goat species who just happens to be a cyclops. Because guess what? I don't care what people think anymore, and I don't plan on retiring anyone else anytime soon. That is, if I still like them. I still retire characters, but usually it's pretty silent. I only have a few reasons for retiring certain characters of mine. One reason is attachment. Very often I'm too attached to characters to retire them no matter how little I use them. Shadowpuff, for example. She's a really, really old OC of mine who I never use unless I want to show off all of my more popular OCs, but I refuse to retire her. She's my precious little arson baby, and I love her more than anything. Even if I don't draw her at all, that doesn't stop me from labeling her as one of my favorites. On the other hand, I also have plenty of characters I could care less about, whether it's because I just never draw them or I've just never connected with them aside from their designs. Characters like Kelby, Edith, and Munor are probably some of my most amazing character designs, but I never really got attached to them, so I'm selling them. And hopefully, one day, someone will buy, use, and love them more than I did. Info in the description, by the way. Another reason for retiring characters is memory. On more than one occasion, I've decided to peel myself away from characters because of bad memories. It gets to a point where I just don't feel comfortable looking at them anymore. Characters like Vivian and Alicia are also, unfortunately, victims of this. I won't be going into why I've quietly retired them due to personal reasons, but they won't be appearing as much because of those reasons. Now, I will say that I do still somewhat like them, mainly because of nostalgia, but for the most part, they give me anxiety, and if that makes sense Just, if you know, you know, basically. Maybe one day I'll explain things, but for now, pretend you never heard anything. Recently, I've definitely tried to clear out my collection of characters by selling and redesigning some of them, and it's hard. It's weird to explain in long terms, but in short, I'm autistic and I hate change. So, what is a redesign to me is probably just a redraw to you. Bringing Autumn and Mary back again, you can absolutely tell they're the same characters, but it may be a bit tough to see the differences between them and their old designs. Autumn has obviously had a name change, but she's also had her colors adjusted, hairstyle, and cutie mark. Mary, on the other hand, mostly got a body type and color change, but she's still good old Mary. I promise I've fully redesigned a few of my other characters, though, and I do have a few older OCs that I've wanted to change forever, so I did that recently. But I've really only drawn one, so my only example is Maribel. Again, she hasn't changed too much, but it's surprisingly different from her original design, namely her hair and makeup. But whatever, I'm still trying to get used to changing things, and if I ever want to do anything professionally, I'm gonna have to make some changes and sacrifices, unfortunately. Damn you, autism. Now, I've gotta say, moving on from characters is kinda hard for me. Again, I hate change, and even if I want them gone, I struggle. Take Ellie and Viv, for example, again. Despite the fact that I hate what they remind me of, I don't want to rip them away from my friends and possible fans of them. Alicia, especially. She's been a big part of my online personality for ages, but she has to go eventually. It's kind of funny, though. Even when I make characters that are meant to be gotten rid of, like adoptables, I get attached to them too. Recently, I made a large batch of Pinky Cooper-inspired Gyaru pups, and I adore each and every one of them. They look fantastic, and I just wish they'd sell. But I've had them for months now, and I'm starting to worry that I'll miss them a little. Damn it. It's my art, yes, and I'm proud of it, but if I want them to go so bad, why do I want to keep them at the same time? I make my job too hard for myself, huh? Hopefully I'll get better at all this soon. All this being making characters I love, selling characters that could have better owners, moving on. That last one goes for everything, not just art, but this isn't that kind of video. Go see a therapist or something if you want tips for that. But seriously, I'm working on that, and you should too, if you're struggling as bad as I am, that is. Now that I've covered the main story here, why don't I talk about my sponsor? That's funny. That's really funny. I don't have nearly enough clout to be getting sponsorships, but what I do have is a Discord server and my commissions open. Check both out using my card in the description. Well, I seem to be running low on speedpaint, so I guess I gotta head out. But if you made it this far, thank you, and I'm happy to see that someone has found me interesting. Or maybe, like, they turn this on for background noise, or you're one of my friends and you're just playing this to give me those sweet, sweet views. But no matter how or why you watch, thank you so much. So as always, like, subscribe, share with your grandma. But this was GSPA Pro, signing out. 'Cause I ain't changing my fucking outro. Peace. Usually it's something that moves.